Artu? Where are you? Artu? Artu? Huh? Artu, you're on fire! R2-D2, you found a cigarette! Well, I don't think smoking is grown up at all. Because it's very dangerous. Smoking does dreadful things to your lungs and is very bad for your heart. Well, I know I don't have one, but humans do, and I think we should set a good example. Well done, R2. Oh, hello. You know smoking is bad for your health, and it isn't grown up at all. So please, don't smoke. R2, do you really think I don't have a heart?
Frank Tanana, Frank Tanana, Frank Tanana, Frank Tanana, Frank Tanana, Frank Tanana, T-A-N-A-N-A, Tanana.
Goodbye.
Welcome to Carnival Personnel. That was a little shout out for one of our all-time favorite bands, My Bro Seb, and their catchy song about Frank Tanana, 20-year Major League pitcher who only played 1 year for the Red Sox and went 4-10. Big Bible thumper Frank Tanana was. And while we're on the subject of Frank Tanana, there may or may not be a series of Dr. Bills from the early 90s when somebody would go into the ER to get periodically stitched up and give the name Frank Tanana with his proper mailing address just so he could see how much the medical services would have cost to have his face stitched.
Note to self, make Jacques run down everything he's going to do on the show before the show. Okay, I'm Joe, and wait, we have another person here.
Jacques, hey,
Hey-o.
I'm here. Hey, welcome to Carnival Personnel.
We're the only two people here.
Yay!
Wait a second. That's not nice.
That's not an empty chair.
No, that's
just an empty suit.
Well, I'd like to introduce to our Carnival Personnel friends out there, our very good friend and infrequent contributor, Jim. Jim's on the podcast.
Ooh, Jim.
Jim's sitting right here.
Ooh.
Carnival Personnel won't be the same. Jim is joining the podcast. Joining the podcast. Jim, he's joining the podcast. Though he should be ashamed, cause his podcast is lame. Jim is his name. Jim, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, guys. I'm psyched to be here. I know I missed a couple episodes, but I have been listening.
You missed 4 episodes.
Let me just say this, and I'm all joking aside. I've been listening to each episode, and I've been increasingly impressed every time. You guys are doing a great job.
God bless.
That's all. That's no joking.
And that's the only reason why we brought him on, is we needed somebody to give us a constant praise and adulation during the podcast.
Well, thanks for stopping by,
Yeah,
Jim.
right.
It was good to see you.
Right.
I am the one fan, and I threatened to stop listening unless I got to get on the air.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
right.
So Joe and I have known Jim forever. Jim has known Joe even before Joe and I've known, and just recently we were referring to you as the Gronk of the Carnival Personnel podcast. We were talking about how from day one you were all excited to be this. What a good contributor you were. Well, the funny thing was I was saying to Joe about how this past offseason Gronk is front and center of all the every Patriot thing. He's there, and it was really funny because at the ceremony downtown when they had the whole team, Gronk was front and center on stage, leading the charge on the duck boats. Only 5 Patriots went with Robert Kraft down to Rhode Island later that day to present, show everybody off the trophy. And Gronk was one of those 5, and it's like, and he wasn't even on the field. And Joe said, if we ever won, like, it would be like,
Yeah, if there was ever a podcast award ceremony and we won, I think Jim would be the one to go up and accept the award for us.
to which we both agreed, you would do a much better job accepting it than us. So
Yeah.
we'd be like, you go.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah, we're the ugly writing staff, and like he's the face.
Well, there was one time in LA, the 3 of us went out to do stand up, and I had done it a bunch of times, and I had prepared, and Joe had prepared a bunch of stuff, and I did okay. Joe did really okay. Jim didn't prepare anything. He got up on stage and did nothing but New Kid on the Block's poses and pointing, and brought the house down.
Yeah.
There was so many other comedians in the room who was toiling away at their craft, working hard, who got 1/90th the reaction that you, and all you did was just stand there and you just said,
It was very presidential of him, I gotta say.
Non-planning has been a crucial fixture in my life.
Welcome to the podcast. You're perfect.
he's the one guy who proves Homer's theory.
Right.
Hide under a pile of coat.
And hope it all
Hope
goes.
it turns out okay.
Yeah.
And it has.
Yeah.
So welcome, Jim.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to be here, and just to go back to your Gronk reference real quick. Naturally, at first, I assumed you were talking about my speed burst off the line after the snap. But those other things
And
are
the
true
broad
too that you said.
shoulders and the chick. You guys both chick magnets.
What can I say?
So it is. It's great. So let's dive right in, Joe. What is anything going on this week? What do we have good?
Gosh, what has gone on this week? Nothing really. I think this is it. I think this is the shortest podcast ever.
Good night.
Good night. No.
Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button.
Don't bother.
All right. Yeah.
Is there a dislike button that you can hit?
Well, real quick, then let's just dive right in. This is what's catching my eye is Mayweather McGregor.
Yeah, I know we're a couple weeks behind the announcement, but what the fuck?
Yeah, we're going to be a little sports heavy. So, if for anybody not living under a rock, or even if you're not a MMA person, a boxing person, or a sports person, it's been a huge headline thing that they've been talking about this about 18 months. They've been talking nonstop. Dana White said it would never happen. Boxing people said it would never happen. But Floyd Mayweather is finally going to get in the room with McGregor, and I think the rumor is it's $100 million purse for each, win or lose. So they both get $100 million. But what are your early thoughts on this? Is it actually a fight, Jim, or is it just a cash grab and a PR stunt?
It is probably, in my opinion, the biggest PR stunt you could come across ever. I'm going to steal this from Joe. I saw something Joe posted a little while ago that said, "Take my money." Obviously, Floyd Mayweather, his whole marketing scheme is the whole, the money team, TMT. This is take my money. Everybody's going to buy into this. All the MMA fans are going to buy into this. And as far as I'm concerned, and as far as these sports go, Mayweather may as well have picked a soccer or a lacrosse player.
100%.
These are different sports. I was not impressed with McGregor in the Diaz fight. Either one of the Diaz fights. The first one he lost. The second one, he won a decision. I think that was questionable. I think a lot of people think it was questionable. And I think it was pretty much out there that Diaz did not come into that fight in shape. And I think if he did, I think McGregor would have got stopped again. Two different sports. I don't see him having the ability. They're not going into this with the same class. I don't see this truthfully, and Mayweather by any stretch is not a knockout artist. I don't see this going more than 4 or 5 rounds. And I'm not saying he's going to be knocked out. I don't think he's going to have the gas.
Well, and the biggest thing is, we can get into like drawing correlations to different things where McGregor is not a boxer, and boxing is a part of his repertoire. It's part of every MMA fighter's repertoire. You're not as good in his sport if you can't throw a punch, if you can't take a punch, but it's a big difference throwing punches with gloves on than
to follow up with what you're saying. Striking with your hands is part of an MMA's repertoire.
Right.
boxing is not part of their repertoire for the most part. There's a lot more, there's obviously the old school MMA back with Hoist Gracie, and everything was on the ground, and Greco-Roman wrestling with Dan Servan. I can't remember what he went by and all that stuff. But those days are over. Everybody's on their feet now. Everybody has everybody has an up game, everybody has a down game, and they have a game in that in-between space when you're falling to the ground and coming up from the ground. Those are tremendous talents. Please don't take this as I am down on McGregor. McGregor's a phenomenal Ultimate Fighter. He's a phenomenal Ultimate Fighter. He's exciting to watch. He has made himself as notorious as his marketing name suggests. But as far as this fight goes against Mayweather, he's just not gonna. It's not gonna cut it.
I mean, it's not taking anything away from the athlete that he is and the MMA, personality and champion that he is. But you're not taking anything away from LeBron James saying he's not an amazing, one of the greatest basketball players of all time if he goes one-on-one with Sid Crosby to see who's the best hockey player. It's just,
couldn't be better said.
It's the same thing,
Guys, I'm gonna go get some chips. Do you want anything? Or
I'll take another iced coffee.
Oh yeah, please.
What
Cream and sugar, caramel swirl.
What are your thoughts on this?
I have none. That's why I'm letting you guys talk.
Well, I mean, can you think of any other situations in pop culture that draw a correlation between this?
I could. Oh, you want me to explain them here?
No, I just wanted to know if you had any thoughts in that pretty little head of yours.
I mean, the hack line is that this is like Rocky versus Hulk Hogan.
Rocky 3.
Yes,
and
which also featured Mr. T, I believe.
And Clever Lang, who was at the wrestling boxing match, just in disgust that Rocky wasn't training serious for him, and he left in the middle of that fight. Of course, we remember.
Of course, yes.
What was Hulk's name?
Oh, shit. Oh man,
Lip something.
Lip.
I can't even.
Lips.
I'm not going to have the answer on that, but I'll throw in there to go back to my McGregor thing. McGregor isn't going to have a script like that movie did, and this is not going to be a fun night for him.
Well, the thing is, he gets. I don't know the exact numbers. I don't know if they published it, but he gets a huge fine if he does anything non-boxing related. If he does any holds, takedowns, literally, if he's tying him up and all of a sudden he does a jump guard or some kind of takedown, he automatically is disqualified and forfeits like half his purse.
Guys, I found the answer.
Yes,
Thunder Lips.
I knew it was lip something,
right.
and it was great. I remember it was a big charity thing. Rocky was fighting him, and Rocky's they're shaking hands in the middle of the ring. It's like, hey, maybe we get a Polaroid after this or something. And Hulk just goes berserk, just absolutely loses his shit, goes berserk, picks Rocky, throws him out of the ring, starts fighting cops. It was absolutely great. And Rocky the whole time is like, this is supposed to be for charity. And then at the end, he's like, I didn't know charity hurt so much.
Wasn't, speaking of Thunder and Hulk Hogan, wasn't there a TV show of his in the 90s where he was like on a boat? Like he was like a cop or something on like speedboats, and wasn't it called like Thunder Paradise?
It was something awful that.
Nah, here we go.
Slightly rings a bell.
And then
slightly.
I'm going on. Oh wait, here it is. Thunder in Paradise. Yes, Thunder in Paradise. So he brought the thunder.
Do you have the Blu-ray of that? Do you have the laser disc?
I have the VHS.
You have a VHS player here where Liz, have to move some of the Ghostbuster stuff over to make room for it.
It's accessible.
So you got Rocky and Hulk. You also had
Billie Jean King versus Bobby Riggs was sort of like a big stunt.
A big publicity. And again, it was the same thing. I mean, a little different. It's like everybody makes that as like, oh, the battle of the sexes. It's like Billie Jean King was the #1 ranked woman player in the world, 20 years younger. And it's like me going out saying, I'm a guy, I can beat Serena Williams.
Well, you're right.
It was just as ridiculous. But I think the other good one, Jesse Owens versus a horse.
Yeah. Is that racist? Honestly, I don't mean like racist. I mean like they were both racers.
They were
It was
right,
racist.
right. It was.
I suck.
It was no. Hey, a big swing and a miss.
Just a bit outside.
You had, I believe Jesse Owens was Hitler's favorite track star from the '36 Olympics. He comes back, and it was one of those things. It's like, well, how can he make this 15 minutes of fame last, maybe 30 seconds longer? So they take him out to a track and, have him race. So I think it would on ABC Wide World of Sports, though ABC doesn't come along for 20 years later. But I believe that was part of their game plan. But yeah, it's just a publicity stunt. It's just a money grab. But they think I heard 4.6 million buys at $100 a buy is what they're expecting.
Wow.
Not good at math, but carry the one. Shitload of money.
Yeah.
Shitload. McScrooge ducks bags of money that everybody associated with.
They're just going to give him a big vault of coins for him to jump into.
Yeah, so I mean, but does McGregor at all? Floyd is a defensive specialist. So does McGregor even land a punch?
No, that's the biggest issue, and this is going to be a stamina thing. This is going to be a ring generalship thing. I don't see it. It's like again, it's nothing against McGregor. It's just so two different sports. I can't fathom a situation. And Joe can back me up on this. I'm a huge boxing fan. I watch a lot of boxing.
You had
this is kind of
tons
like
of boxing tape.
Yeah, this is kind of like to me. This is a way back throwback. None of your younger audience is going to remember.
We don't have a younger
that
audience.
Huge younger audience.
Yeah.
Remember this. But this is kind of to me going to be like Mike Tyson versus Peter McNeely without the first round knockout. It just doesn't.
Will the national anthem be longer than the fight? That's all I want to ask.
The Peter McNeely thing, I don't know if I remember anything sadder. His father was a local heavyweight champ. And as Peter McNeely's walking in the ring, his father's holding a picture of himself as a younger fighter. And it was just, it's like, what do you do? And who thought that was a good idea? Like, literally.
He did. Thank you.
Yeah, now granted, I mean, he knew. It's
I think he got $1 million out of it. I think he might have got.
Yeah, and there's nobody that I know.
I don't know if he has any of that money, but
I don't know how much Don King got out of it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, okay, so that's the thing. So who is the big winner out of this? Does it help revitalize the sport of boxing? Does it bring MMA guys into the boxing world? Or is that from the boxing point of view? Do they think that?
Is this the Flintstones meet the Jetsons?
Yes. I could not think of anything more descriptively accurate.
This is
than
a big, huge crossover between two sports that just are similar. They're kind of, there's a little bit of dabbling in each. But yeah, they are not one and the same and probably should not be mixed together.
I mean, but that's the thing. So the boxing people say, well, boxing is the better sport. They're the better athletes. Watch what he does to this person and fool themselves because they're just playing by boxing rules. Do they think it brings MMA fans back to boxing? Or do MMA fans think if McGregor holds his own, he's going to be able to show, even though he's not a true boxer, MMA fighters are that good that they're going to pull boxing fans into it? I mean, what other than the money grab for the fighters and the promoters, how does this a year from now help either sport?
I think they're hoping that it morphs. I think they're hoping that they can capture a young MMA audience and vice versa. From that respect, media-wise, the benefit is largely more so for MMA, for UFC, and all those leagues that are out there. It benefits boxing much more because there's a following. There's a huge MMA following.
Yeah.
Huge MMA following.
I mean,
that boxing potentially, or at least they have the opportunity to tap into that with this fight.
Well, like, you're saying that, yeah, there's a big MMA following. And then also think about, when you're bringing your kids you can do karate lessons. You don't take them to do boxing lessons. You do, however, I think, have MMA lessons that you can give to kids.
But jiu-jitsu, karate everywhere. Lame. But jiu-jitsu has become a big kids event.
Right. How many boxing lessons do you take your kids to?
Honestly, I've had my boys do it just because we had a friend who had an in with the place in Somerville that they've gone to a few times. But you kind of have to know somewhere. There aren't many boxing gyms around.
Right. The Somerville boxing gym?
Yeah.
The one, it's actually right
Yeah, I know,
from,
Eric.
from ESCS.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly.
But that's
right.
only because, as we talked, like I'm raising my sons to do martial arts, archery. They're basically survivalists.
It's the Walking Dead regimen. Yeah.
And so they, I figure, we'll do a little, throw a little.
But it's
boxing
funny
in.
because like MMA is so much more obviously brutal than boxing. Yet boxing is sort of viewed as the more
the sweet science.
Yeah, exactly. But right, but we don't teach our kids boxing as much as we would teach. Like more people are more apt to bring their kids to, jujitsu,
Right.
and grappling and all of that versus pugilism,
It's
which I think is a big word for boxing.
hold on, pugilism. What do you call me?
Pugilism.
Now, I mean, how much of an underdog is McGregor? Is it one of those things like at the beginning of every football season, you always have, one team that honestly is, 500 to 1 to make it to the Super Bowl. And like, if you're a fan of like, not to pick on anybody, but the Lions, every year or something like that, like the year after they're like 0-16 and the stats come out and some guy from Detroit's in there, it's like, I'm going to throw $50 on it. I mean, what do you have to lose with the upside? And this year, like, I think the Ottawa Senators were something crazy, like 100 to 1 odds. And they went to the second overtime of Game 7 of a conference final.
It just shows you what a hot goalie does.
Right,
Yes.
but that's it. So, I mean, or and gosh, I hate to. Well, on one hand, I love to say it. I mean, is McGregor more of an underdog in this than the Patriots were against the Rams and their first Super Bowl win? I mean, they were a 14-point underdog, which I don't think there's ever at the time had been a 14-point Super Bowl underdog.
To a degree, I'd almost say yeah, because again, we're talking about two different sports. Whereas being a 14-point underdog in a football game, you're playing the same.
You're
Yeah,
playing
right.
the
They're,
same
they're
game.
all football players.
We really are, and again, I'm not always right about my predictions. Let me be very clear of that. I have given a lot of athletes the kiss of death.
That's why I'm broke, by the way.
But I just, this is again, just to go back, it's not the same sport. They're not going into this with the same tools. This is a master technician coming into the ring against a very game opponent.
Yeah.
But now this is the first time Jim's been in the room with us. Jim, are you not impressed how I can draw a correlation between everything in the New England Patriots?
Yeah.
that I can inject the Patriots into already twice with you and Gron.
They don't all have to be successful, by the way. Like
No.
just the attempts of the correlations is what matters.
Yeah, no, we're going to talk about some other stuff later.
The New England Patriots in themselves are a very wide spectrum. I mean, yes, we've had a lot of very, very wonderful years here, but there was a long time
Rod
where we
Rust.
had a lot of lean years here. So it's a broad spectrum.
Speaking of Spectrum,
You want to do the random video game
let's
review?
go to the random video game. And again, because Jim is here, he gets the honors of pulling.
All right. First, he's got to pull his headphones off so he doesn't rip them out of the socket. So what you got to do is just pull a game, any game. I'm not going to look. You're going to go to the shelf of the
Yeah.
Nintendo games. Yeah, just pull anyone, and then without showing it to me, you can give it to Jacques when you're done.
Yeah.
I'm just going to guess from the gap left in the shelf what game you pulled out, and then I'm going to do a stupid review of it, and people are going to be bored. Ready?
Jim pulled the game for Joe. Go ahead. What do you think it is?
Well, boy, it's not Deja. It's between Deja Vu and Donkey Kong. It's probably,
I have never heard of this game.
yeah. Is it?
If that helps.
Yeah, I mean, is it like Digger T Rock or something? I don't know. What is it?
It is not. You want to give it one more try?
It's douchebaggery.
Yeah.
Yay!
Well,
All right. It's Demon Sword. Oh, I don't know what this is.
Joe, you can't do that.
Sorry, man. I don't play all my games. I just, if it looks like a Nintendo cartridge and it's in a store for $2, I'm going to buy it, regardless of whether my kids need food or anything like that.
Love.
Demon Sword is a game. The end. I think it's like one of those kind of like a hack, almost like.
Holy shnikes.
Wait, okay, well
Holy shnikes.
he's looking at my penis. If you're wondering.
You fuck with that?
No.
Oh. Anyways.
Who was that brought to us by?
The wonderful people of Taito.
Taito. I don't ever remember playing a video game from Taito.
Yeah, no,
The people of Taito.
I think you have. They made a couple of okay games, but Demon Sword. I think it's like Wizards and Warriors. Remember that game?
I do remember that.
That was a
game.
good game.
I do.
This is probably a good game or a decent game. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but it has a very svelte looking. It kind of looks like not like Conan the Barbarian, but like
Yeah, no, kind of
little Conan-esque. Yeah, I mean,
hot either way.
You're right. Very very doable. But it's a game. I have never played it. But now Jacques is going to wow me. Or no, first I'm going to guess how much I think it goes for on eBay with just the cartridge alone, not the box, not a box copy. Cartridge alone. My cartridge is pretty decent shape. It only has a little bit of Jacques spit in it. I'm going to say, and you heard the orgasm, so I'm going to guess that it's about $20.
Well, brand new shocked me. If you're buying it new, first of all, who has it new?
That guy.
$79.
Wow.
But used, out of the box, no case, $3.99.
Oh,
with $3 of shipping. like it turns out, the big money in eBay is in the shipping.
Yeah. It's a profit deal. Yeah, so okay, I was wrong on the review. I'm wrong on the
what are the
lot
odds,
of things in life.
What are the odds we get you to fire up the Nintendo system later today? Actually, give it a go and come back with a review.
If you want me to do that, just say so on our Facebook page, Carnival Personnel Podcast. Just leave any sort of comment that says, "Yeah, Demon's Sword. I remember that game. Kinda. You should play that," and then totally review it, and I'll do it. Other than that, fuck off.
What else? What else? Big things are like happening this week. And this week, we one of the things we like to do is This Week in Awful. There's so many things on the list, and I think we're going to jump into the upcoming This Week in Awful. Transformers.
Yep, Transformers 5. It's what's the subtitle? I don't know because I don't do research. That's for nerds.
I believe it's the grab for cash. No, that was the McGregor fight. That's the subtitle.
the search for more money.
And the old joke is like, well, they had to make a 5 because number 4 left so many unanswered questions. And no, it didn't.
The Last Knight, KNIGHT, like Jedi
Knight. Yes, we got that.
I have nothing to offer on this.
Yes, you do.
The only thing I did hear, and I don't know where I heard it, is somewhere I heard that that Mark Wahlberg was no longer after this one interested in the Transformers franchise. But other than that, I have not heard anything else. And that may not even be true. I think I read something like that.
If you saw him in 4, I think after 3 he had no more interest in the Transformers franchise.
Yeah, I see him on like a Verizon commercial with Transformers now, and I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's nice. The kids like.
So Joe and I, because we have nobody else who will talk to us during the week. So Michael Bay, he makes these movies that get panned over and over. I think it was coming out like the pre-screenings and stuff like that had like a Rotten Tomato score of like 17, and people are saying, well, it's a really bad movie, but at least it's really long, so you get 3 hours of suck for your money. And there's so many people who feel like, oh, well, they've bastardized the industry or the franchise, and these are Grandpa's Transformers anymore.
Hashtag not my Transformers.
And it's one of those things where Michael Bay can't hear you surrounded by that wall of money that he keeps making with all
and the
these
constant
movies.
explosions going off around him.
So that's the thing. It's like, on one hand, it's for me, because it's all about me and the New England Patriots, who are one and the same, to be honest.
Yes.
I think these movies are awful. However, if you've been to Universal in the last 5 or 6 years, the Transformer ride is absolutely jaw-droppingly awesome. And we wouldn't have had that awesome ride without these awful movies.
Yeah.
So,
well, Waterworld included has an awesome ride.
The Waterworld show at Universal, I've seen no less than 50 times. And every time I see it, jaw on the ground is like, holy fuck, how do they pull this off 4 times a day?
Yeah.
The number of explosions, the stunt people, the gigantic elaborate set that they have just for this show. And I truly think at this point, probably 10 years ago, more people have seen the Waterworld show at Universal than saw the Waterworld movie.
Yes, I agree. But I mean, Michael Bay, it's kind of been talked about to death that Michael Bay has taken franchises from the 80s, made movies out of them, and has been accused of bastardizing these franchises. But in the same breath, he's keeping them alive, and it's making money, tons of money.
Tons of money.
Yeah, tons of money here and tons of money overseas. These movies don't need a whole lot of story to do well at the box office in China and in places like that. So say what you will about Michael Bay, and I'm sure that you have.
And we will. Well, it's the same thing. Like, he did that with the Mutant Ninja Turtles. You're right. But at what point? And that's the thing. It's like, I would have loved another, Christian Bale Batman. But they're like, no, we've done enough. Let's move on before it becomes a Transformers 5 where it's nothing but a money grab and you're really stretching to make a story.
I'm still waiting for Pearl Harbor 2. Like, I don't know what happened.
Right after the Titanic 2, The Awakening,
Right.
I think he's going to dive into Pearl Harbor 2.
Yeah, they actually did make a Titanic 2.
Did they really?
It was a parody with Leslie Nielsen. Probably better than Michael Bay's Pearl Harbor.
Nice.
Although Team America had a great song about that. It was. Have you ever seen Team America World Police?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
America. Fuck yeah.
Well, they have that song where,
the motherfucking name, America.
Fuck yeah. McDonald's.
Trucks.
Slavery. But they have a song in there about...
the slavery, that was a good jumping off point. Good thing you stopped the song there.
But Michael Bay's referenced in a song where Pearl Harbor sucked and I love you. I miss you more than Michael Bay missed the point when he wrote Pearl Harbor.
Matt Damon.
Yeah, but so Michael Bay, easy target at this point. But you know what? Who's laughing now, world? I mean, he's cashing in checks that our bodies can't write.
Something like that.
Yeah, whatever. I'm trying to tie it back to Hulk Hogan.
Oh, so you see what he's done there? So
Your mouth's writing checks that your body can't cash.
No, and look, we can't really, sell out,
Yes, we can.
We can, and we're trying. Hint, but we can't get mad at Michael Bay for like selling out in commercialism, where we're taking all that big money from Squatty Potty,
Yes,
and from Blue Apron,
right,
and from this week's sponsor.
Oh, yes. This week's sponsor will bring you back to a time and place when there was no such thing as a Best Buy or a Circuit City. Oh, wait, that's also gone out of business. So it's basically Best Buy is the only place you can buy a TV nowadays. But let's go back to a simpler time. If you take the Green Line all the way to the last stop, here's where you'll find yourself.
Now at Lechmere, the RCA 13-inch color portable TV with scan tuning, you save $50. From GE, the kitchen companion, and under the cabinet AM/FM clock radio, save $23 after rebate. And from BASF, blank videotape, high grade or regular, you save over $2 per tape.
Lechmere, for a new dimension in shopping. Lechmere, for the way you live today.
Wonderful.
Wow. The fact that we keep getting these sponsors each and every week to throw the money truck at us.
Yeah. I miss Lechmere. Don't you?
Again, Lechmere, I don't have any recollection of going to.
Where did you grow up?
But don't forget, look. Don't bring up old wounds again. Didn't we go through that with that issue?
No.
Do you really want to pick at another scab here, Joe?
If our couch wasn't full of French onion dip and chips, I'd ask you to lie down.
Ladies. but we on a more important note, Han Solo.
Yes.
Big news on Han Solo front. Jim, how excited are you about Ron Howard jumping on board the Han Solo movie?
I'm going to plead ignorant here. I did hear that he was going to be doing something with Star Wars, but other than that, I honestly don't have much to offer.
Well, I mean, to be honest, nobody has anything to offer on this because we don't know what the movie's about. We don't know what's going on. Jacques refuses to, read up on any news. I was afraid to bring this topic up to him because he is he does not want to see trailers, previews, hype. He just wants to know that a movie is coming out on a certain date and that he should block off his entire day that date.
Yeah, when Batman or a big superhero movie, Wonder Woman comes out, a lot of the geek podcasts I listen to and sites I read, just months before, I go on a complete total lockout. If I'm going to see a movie with the kids and a trailer comes up for the new Star Trek or something, I'll just literally leave the theater and my children behind because I don't want to see a preview for anything. And I don't know anything about the Han Solo movie. I'm just hoping it covers Han up to when he shot first. And if anybody said Han didn't shoot first, you're an idiot. Stop listening to me, Mom. And but you were talking about, you were going through Ron Howard's catalog, and he's done so many amazing movies, just not in the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, I mean, he did that. The latest movie I think that I can remember was the latest Da Vinci Code movie with Tom Hanks. But, it's like a kind of a lukewarm, it has its fan base. It was kind of the middle of the road.
Is that Demons and Knights? Is that
I
what
think
it is?
so,
Or is
yeah.
that
Yeah,
Demons and Knights?
right. And, I checked out after Da Vinci Code, honestly, but we can't really compare Apollo 13 Ron Howard to today. His directing style may be a little bit more muted or subtle, but he's also... he was on Happy Days when the original Star Wars came out.
Right.
So he's of that generation. So I'm sure this is a very special franchise.
I mean, it might
for
be a
him to
big passion project for him that he
Yeah.
wanted to get involved in it. But he hasn't done anything. And Apollo 13 was a space movie, semi-based on historical facts. And it was more, docu style than...
Right. There was actually, those things actually happened. Han Solo...
Did they? Did they?
Right. You probably believe that Han Solo is more real than the moon landing, Mr. Conspiracy Theory.
It's not a conspiracy. Han Solo is so real. And I've based my entire life around his teaching, so don't burst that bubble.
I won't. But yeah, I'm going to Inferno was actually the last movie that came out, which was, I think, that was the last Da Vinci Code movie. But then I'm going he did Mars, which is
Again, no warp drives. No.
Yeah, I'm looking and seeing. He did a movie about 1970s racing called Rush in 2013.
Yeah, that was a big flop.
He was a producer of Katy Perry, Part of Me in 2012. So, okay.
Oh, there you go. Okay,
yeah,
we
right.
see the correlation now.
Yeah, exactly. So we have nothing to fear, folks. Nothing to
Makes
fear, Star Wars fans.
perfect sense.
Maybe we can't really talk about what our feelings are about Ron Howard directing Han Solo, the new Han Solo movie. But I guess, so what are you expecting out of this new Han Solo movie? Is just basically everything leading up to when Han shot first?
Up until the cantina scene in Star Wars when he meets up with Obi-Wan and Luke.
Isn't this supposed to be? I think this is supposed to be a much younger Han Solo. It's him and Lando Calrissian. It's that far back.
So, and if that's the case, let's not forget he's not a good guy. Even towards the very end of Star Wars, it wasn't until the last reel of that he's kind of he's a bad guy. He's just a pirate.
He's all for himself.
It wasn't like the McGregor fight. It was just a money grab for him. To take Leia. To get Leia and to get her rescued.
Did he get Leia?
Yes, he did. So no, I don't have expectations except I want to be wowed. I mean, I had no expectations going into Rogue One.
Right, and Rogue One friggin' tastic.
And I wonder if the success of The Force Awakens, so the reboot, the first reboot of the Star Wars thing, episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, the prequels.
Kind of got panned.
Kinda
got panned. I don't hate it as much. Years later, looking back at it, I'm like, oh, maybe it wasn't as bad as I first thought. But so then when they come back and they're doing The Force Awakens, they really brought it back. And everyone's like, oh, okay, finally, this is great. This is great. We can't wait for the next two. And then when they announced they were going to do a Star Wars movie that wasn't Chapter 8, there was some skepticism, but it was I put it as my second favorite Star Wars movie next to Empire Strikes Back. So I'm just hoping that they can come somewhere between Rogue One and Clone Wars.
Right. I don't want all of these Star Wars stories to somehow latch themselves onto an existing Star Wars movie like Rogue One did. Spoilers! Rogue One latched itself onto A New Hope. And it's basically an addendum to A New Hope, or pre-dendum. But I don't want that to be the case for all Star Wars stories. I don't want Han Solo to be the last scene of Han Solo in the Han Solo movies, him walking into the canteen. I don't want that. I kind of want it to be a little distant.
When he wins the Falcon from his former pal in a car, was it a card game that he won it from?
Did they have cards back?
It
was way back then.
Maybe it was three-dimensional chess, whatever they played. But Lando had always said he had stolen it from him, and he's like, no, I won it fair and square. So there was of bet between those two scoundrels that had the greatest ship in the entire sci-fi world changing hands. But my hope for it is that they don't try to reinvent his character, that they don't go back. I mean, that was one of the biggest things that upset people at No Lies Complete geeks like myself when Lucas went back in and he reissued Star Wars, and he had Han shooting second, in the Cantina bar and stuff like that, and tried to make him a more sympathetic, good guy. What made his character so great was the arc.
Yeah.
That he started from point A and wound up at point B. That he started off as a complete scumbag and became a really good guy.
Yeah, how come Darth Vader can have a redemption, but not Han Solo? There's sort of a redemption story there for Han as well.
Right, and that's it. So with this one, I just hope if it's pre Cantina, if it's younger, that he's backstabbing for himself, screwing over Lando Calrissian to get however he got there.
Yeah.
Whatever the story is, I don't want him to be this likable good guy. He can be the bad boy of outer space, but don't make him having a heart of gold or doing it for the right things or wanting to fight the Empire because it's the right thing to do.
What if they introduce a love interest? Would that upset you?
Yes. Because I don't think he's at that point in his life. I don't think he was capable of love,
there obviously have to be women in the movie because it's kind of you kind of need that, but he doesn't necessarily need to have a love interest. But it's curious because that's sort of his turning point as a character is that he falls for Leia and and strives to become a better person because of what Leia stood for and how she challenged his character. How about this? A love story between him and Lando. Yeah.
There you go. Getting too politically correct. But no, is there more pressure on Ron Howard because the bar with these side stories of Rogue One being raised so high? Or is there less pressure because, there's already been a Jar Jar Binks? Like the floor is the ceiling has been raised on one hand, but the floor has been lowered so much on the other. So as long as
that's a wide strike zone.
Falls in between, right, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he'll do well. He's an astounding director.
Now, does Ron Howard have anything to do with the resurgence of Glow?
Let me check my internets. No, he does not. And you bring up Glow because
it's on the page.
Right.
And for those who don't know, Glow is Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling.
Yes. Yeah, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. So the reason why it's on the page, Mr. Curtain Pullbacker.
Wait, somebody hold up that fourth wall that's falling down.
On the page. So Glow premiered on Netflix. Glow is a new comedy/drama series, but mostly comedy series. It takes place in 1986 or 85. That sort of tells the story of the genesis, the beginnings of Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, which in the 80s was it lasted 3 years. And it was, I think, on cable and also syndicated TV. It was the female counterpart or answer to the WWF, which was humongous in 1986. And the only reason I wanted to bring it up is because it is so fucking awesome as a show. Mark Maron is the director who hosts the Cattle Call. He's kind of
the director with the heart of gold.
Yeah, right, and nose of cocaine because this guy.
Wait a minute, this was in the 80s.
Yeah, right. Try to be a little bit more accurate. A TV show. No, he's like this kind of this B movie director. Like he directed a lot of schlock movies in the 70s. He actually, one of the girls on the team is a stunt woman that he's worked with on B movies in the past. And he's had a relationship with. So then there is that dynamic. There's like the real actress. It's really kind of told from the viewpoint of the real struggling actress who studies Uta Hagen and goes to workshops and tries to audition for Cat on a Hot Tin Roof and that sort of thing. She wants to be a legitimate actress. And of course there is that undertone of, it's the 80s, so obviously sexism. You think it's rampant now. She's struggling to find real meaty roles as an actress besides like the secretary that knocks on the powerful businessman's office door telling him that he has a call on line 2. But so she gets introduced to this new endeavor. There's also another woman in her life, and then she gets dragged into it, and it's a great show. It's done so well and so brilliantly, and the soundtrack is awesome. You have like Pat Benatar and
because I'm really really old. I dated Glow. We didn't have cable, but it was in syndication, and I don't know if it was Channel 56 or Channel 38.
I think it was 56.
That were carrying it. It was a UHF channel.
A UHF.
And so, so they would carry it. It was like 11 o'clock at night on like Saturdays. And much like today, the wrestling was awesome, but the skits and the
Oh, God.
build up beforehand and the dialogue, it was like,
Where the gorgeous ladies are wrestling.
yeah, they had a what was it? What was this? The Super Bear Shuffle. They had a very Bears '86 Super Bear Shuffle
Right,
type
with
song.
complete with star wipes and
So great. And, I mean,
well, who is your favorite Glow wrestler? I mean, I think on the tips of our tongues.
Farmer's Daughter had to be Farmer's Daughter.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a close second.
It's funny because in Glow, they allude to these characters, but they're not like I'm looking for like Big Bad Mama. Yeah. I'm looking for Farmer's Daughter. You don't see them yet, but they allude to them, and even in conversation, like you kind of hear the names being dropped. So it's just a great show, and they have really and there's boobies. There's
What?
boobies. Yes, Chuck.
Nice.
Got your attention now.
Okay, I'm gonna have to sidebar catching up on Shield and Arrow and Flash.
Don't get me wrong, Green Arrow's boobies are
And,
spectacular.
you got when he does the salmon ladder, when he's shirtless, then what?
Right.
Stop looking at me like, don't judge, Jim, don't judge. We are an inclusive podcast.
Jim, what was your favorite gorgeous lady of wrestling?
The only one that I even really truthfully remember is the Farmer's Daughter. I do remember Big Bad Mama. Other than that, I don't really.
Wasn't there like a one called like Mount Vesuvius?
Oh yeah, there was 20 of them, but
Right.
I just don't. I don't remember. And like you said, honestly I remember more that it was very skit based. It was very like sketch based, more so than the wrestling.
And they do these like you see them filming like against like a brick wall, like these promos that like they're introductory promos of their character. And the thing about the show is that it goes all out. Like it's like there's no emergency brake on the show as far as the 80s go. The feel, the style, the music. There's no stopping this show. I think it should be picked up for 4 more seasons. It's spectacular.
So hold on.
Highly recommended.
I'm taking notes. So there are boobs,
There are boobs.
and you see the boobs.
Yes.
And they're boobs you want to see. We're not talking National Geographic documentary boobs.
I'm not discounting that. I haven't seen the whole series yet, but from what I've seen so far, it's fantastic.
So-
It's highly recommended. Glow on Netflix.
Jim, do you got a Netflix pick? Is there anything on Netflix you're binge watching?
The only thing I'm watching on Netflix right now, religiously, I use that ironically, is Keepers. Keepers is
What's Keepers?
Keepers is about and I'm gonna butcher this. I'm gonna give you a real light version of it because I don't remember any names. Keepers is about a nun that was murdered, and one of the suspects is a priest. And it's a documentary about a couple of students who graduated from the high school that the nun worked at, as well as the priest worked at. There's a lot of alleged sexual abuse at the high school in question. It's a high school in Baltimore. And they are basically alleging that she was going to start to blow the whistle on some of this behavior. And she ends up dead, found I believe a number of months later. And I believe it's like 6 or 7 parts on Netflix, and it's very good. It's very sad. It's very, I don't want to say tough to watch, but it's a lot of victims telling a pretty
Grisly story.
a pretty grisly story, a pretty traumatizing story, and it's one of those. It's just one of these things that just a couple of past students, alumni, have decided to take a hold of, and through social media and their own research with journalists and past stories and things like that they've decided to take this on and just kind of put together the best story or history of what happened, and hopefully.
So while there's still air left in the room,
Right.
let's get back to the comedy aspect of the talk show.
What's your Netflix pick, Mr. Netflix?
Accidentally we started watching.
If you say fucking Arrow, I'm going to throw you the hell out of here.
No, come on, dude. So on the Flash this week when we were watching, we started watching Riverdale, and I'm not sure why we started watching it, and I'm not sure why I continue to watch it, but we
And
watched.
you're not sure why you can't stop watching.
Can't. I mean, it is not good, but it's like it's not so bad that it's. I can't tell if it's so bad that we can't stop watching it, or it's not so bad that all right, we're 4 episodes in, we'll see where that goes. But they're trying to make the Archie, thing really current and relevant. They threw in
Archie Comics, not Archie Bunker.
Archie Comics, right. So they got Archie Comics. So they have reimagine the backstories on all of them. It's great because they have, stunt casting galore. They have all these 80 stars and stuff like that. But it's okay. I mean, it's like they're going to suck you in by like within the first 15 minutes of the first episode, they have Betty and Veronica making out. So that would be my. I don't know if it's my pick of the week because I don't know if I like it, but I'm watching it. So hey, if you're not sure what to watch, give Riverdale a try. Or what's your priest raping show?
Keepers.
Keepers.
You know what? Let's go with Glow. Let's all agree that Joe brought the goods to the table. And once again, there's boobies. So
Oh, yes.
So we highly recommend that. But while we're talking about This Week in Awful, Jim, you have a big concert coming up at Fenway you're going to go see.
I do. Coming up, I am going. I will be with many of the other blockheads at the New Kids in the Block concert. I believe it's July 8th. I don't know if they're there a number of nights, but I will be there. I believe it's July 8th. And I am very, very excited. It was part of my Christmas present.
So they lifted the restraining order.
They lifted the restraining order.
You're allowed to be.
I can be within 100 yards.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Just no contact.
Right.
If,
Is throwing your underwear considered contact?
who is your favorite new kid?
My favorite new kid, I think, probably goes back and forth. But my favorite new kid is Joey McIntyre.
Yeah. I agree. I'm actually on the board with that.
Are you?
Yeah, no, because he's actually a pretty good actor, and he was on a couple of low-rated but I think well-received shows.
Absolutely.
The names of which I can't remember right.
The McCarthys.
Oh, the McCarthys. Yeah, that was a CBS show that was on for like one season.
Yeah, and I believe the main character or largely focused character in that was John Ritter's son, I believe.
Yeah, Jason Ritter, right?
Tyler Ritter.
Tyler
maybe?
Ritter. Yeah.
I believe it was. But that show was great. It should have been given more of a chance than it got, and it didn't make it. For whatever reason.
Who is the Fred Roberts of the New Kids on the Block?
Who's Fred Roberts?
He was the 12th guy on the Celtics championship teams all through the 80s.
Oh, okay.
You're
talking about Jonathan Knight.
Jonathan Knight.
Or Danny Wood.
Wait, there can't be two weakest links. Here, weakest link, singular, you can't have two. Who's the one that really kept them from being big?
What? Kept them?
Well, I can tell you this, for what it's worth, from all appearances, is say what you will about the New Kids on the Block. There's no tragic story. There's no lost story with this. They've all been very, very smart with their money.
Oh, yeah.
And they've all gone on to, they've all been very quiet. I'm sure there's probably stories out there of trials and tribulations of some sort. We all have them in our life. But they've really, for the most part, held it together. They've really stayed off the there's nothing dark. There's nothing out there that really nobody really fell off that I can recall anyways, or that I remember hearing about. And like I said, they've all been very, very smart with their money.
I think like Jonathan went into real estate and he was successful there. I don't know. I'm not sure what Danny got into.
I believe Danny went into real estate as well.
Oh, okay.
If I'm correct.
Yeah.
But
and then we all know that Donnie Wahlberg is married to
Donnie's got a whole Wahlburgers franchise going on, and I don't mean Wahlburgers the burger joint, but I mean they just have Wahlburgers everything going on right now.
So I mean we got a few minutes left to go. I enjoy having Jim here.
Yeah, no, Jim. Before we wrap up, we just want to check the list. Okay.
Well, check
women's rights, gun control,
oh, right.
election hacking, Russian collusion.
We got
I don't see any of that on my list.
Right. There's nothing political on our list, even though Jim he tends to lean further right than we do.
Everybody leans further right than we do.
Let me just clarify that. I think like anybody that considers themselves a reasonable left person or a reasonable right person, I consider myself somewhat in the center. As do I think anybody on the left consider themselves in the center.
Well, you're going to a New Kids on the Block contest, so you're a little liberal there.
Obviously, you got the far and the far, and they have their beliefs, and there are certain things where the line does divide. There are certain issues that the line does divide, but I truly, personally, I don't have a lot of those. So I'll be the right wing guy, but I think you guys might be surprised that maybe I'm not that far to the right.
No, and I'm not that far left, by the way, Jacques.
No, but
I own many Confederate flags.
The only political thing that we'll touch on this week, and it's because it strikes a chord with me, is what's still going on in Qatar. And what's kind of funny is the blockade that Saudi Arabia and Egypt have going with them right now. They have their list of demands to lift their blockade. And one of their main list of demands is to get rid of Al Jazeera, which is the biggest news. It's the CNN of the Middle East.
Oh, yeah.
And when your biggest point of contention is an open media source, I mean, as soon as the Egyptian the military overthrow of the government 2 years ago, instantly they started to arrest journalists, which is always a good sign. Which is always a good sign when you arrest and mistreat the journalist and try to stifle the voice. And that's one of their biggest demands, is to say that Al Jazeera has to go away.
Sounds very presidential to me.
It does sound very presidential, but yeah, when your first point of contention is silencing the media.
AKA the fake news.
The fake news, the Al Jazeera, the fake news. Which seriously, Al Jazeera was a big part of the Arab Spring, like a few years ago. They are. I mean, they're based in Qatar. It was started by the Qatar government, but they're worldwide. Al Jazeera America failed, but they're still Al Jazeera English worldwide. But it's really funny to me that if one of your demands is to keep the world from knowing what's going on, to silence the media. I mean, can you imagine living in a country where they don't want to have press conferences, where the media is allowed in, or the media is allowed to tape or video the official statements of government spokespeople for the leader of such countries? Can you imagine living in a world like that?
Yeah, dude. Haven't you been watching the news?
Well, I have.
Oh, wait, no, you're being sarcastic.
Oh, I have, but there's no coverage of it. So I'm watching them
talk. There's no covfefe of it.
I'm watching them talk about it, how they can't cover it. They're not being allowed to. But seriously, the Qatar blockade still goes on. But it's one of those things where the U.S. is caught in the middle of it. On one side, it's become partisan. On one side, you have, Trump saying he's backing Saudi Arabia. And on the other hand, you have our military who's there in the Pentagon saying, no, we need these guys. Here's a bunch of jets. But it's interesting. It's interesting to follow that. But that just came out this week. So we were more sports. We were more Netflix. We were more Glow.
I'm tempted to play the Glow thing right now. I have it.
Done.
I have it at the
Done.
ready. We can comment over this too.
We can go. Okay.
Yeah.
But before you play it,
yeah,
it does have boobs.
This one has boobs but they're covered with clothes.
All
so,
right. Well, hey. Okay, all right.
No, this is the original Glow rap intro. Yes. Look at all the neon. Can't you see the neon?
The hair is stunning.
Yes, as are the ladies. Hence, gorgeous ladies of wrestling. There's too many of them. I didn't realize there were that many gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
Yeah, that's like what I said. There's like 20 of them.
California Doll. Ebony. Guess what she looks like? Olympia. Jungle Woman. Corporal Kelly, not to be confused with Sergeant Slaughter. Hollywood. Ashley Carter. Oh wow, that's like a special guest appearance by. She got a and featuring. Oh,
so great. No, that is that. All right, let's just end the show. We ain't topping that. That is it. We were like, first of all, Jim, seriously, thank you for making it in here, man. We've been
thank you, Jim.
The feedback has been great.
Anytime.
Yes,
we actually have been getting some Facebook messages, which is great. Joe's been getting some emails for people who accidentally know how to contact us directly, and the feedback has been awesome. Everybody who's kind of taken ownership and given some feedback and advice other than stop, it is truly appreciated. Even the stop is appreciated. But we
do have one more thing
we did have one more. And Jim hasn't been here for this. Jim,
what do we
you got 2 young kids at home.
Yep.
Welcome to this week's episode of Parenting Tip of the Week with Jim.
Yay!
First and foremost, my best piece of advice, and I'm sure we're all going to agree on this, and it's not going to be too groundbreaking, is
DNA test.
Is
make sure
you are the father.
Is do not lose your cool.
Yeah,
because they can push your limits.
Maintain.
My parenting tip of the week is find out what they really like. Like, really encourage it. If it's a sport, if it's a video game, get them really involved in it. That way, when they're assholes, you have something to take away that really strikes a chord, that really shakes their world, that kind of hurts them on a level that makes them toe the line.
Yeah, my parenting tip of the week is, you know what? Take your kids to some boxing lessons. I mean, these kids have to learn how to fight these bullies that are constantly harassing them at school and maybe at home.
Tell people how they can follow us.
Well, if you have Facebook and the internet and a computer, you're in luck. Because if you go and follow us at Carnival Podcast on Facebook, just look up Carnival Personnel on Facebook, like our page. You'll be alerted to when we post new episodes. Obviously, if you're listening now, I'm kind of preaching to the converted. Like, what I really want you to do is, if you haven't yet, share our page so that your friends on Facebook can listen to us and also, think that, hey, maybe we should do a podcast, because if these assholes can get it together.
It's really, if you're on iTunes, hit the subscribe button, give us a 5-star review, write something, just make something up. But the most important thing is, do not forget